Google Doodle, most influential women of last 100 years. Who is Millicent Fawcett? Today's Google Doodle honors the 171st anniversary of the birth of British feminist Millicent Fawcett. Millicent Garrett Fawcett was a leading suffragist and played a huge role in securing the vote for women in 1918. Ms. Fawcett won a BBC Radio 4 poll earlier this year for being the most influential women of the past 100 years. The feminist was born in the seaside town of Aldeburgh, Suffolk, on June 11, 1847. She was the eighth of 10 children. She was sent to a London boarding school and took an interest in women's suffrage at the age of 19 after she heard a speech by Radical MP John Stuart Mill. Her sister Elizabeth Garrett Anderson was the first female doctor in the UK. Ms. Anderson faced a huge battle to achieve this, and this struggle helped spur on Ms. Fawcett in her campaign for female equality. She married Henry Fawcett, a politician and professor of political economy at Cambridge, in 1867. She made her first speech on women's suffrage in 1868. Ms. Fawcett became a well-known activist and speaker before becoming president of the National Union of Women's Suffrage Societies in 1897. This group joined together lots of suffrage factions, including Emmeline Pankhurst's suffragette movement. Ms. Fawcett was an advocate for peaceful protest, using non-violent demonstrations and petitions to MPs. The suffragist believed by demonstrating women were intelligent, law-abiding citizens, then they would be seen to be responsible enough to participate fully in politics. In 1913, Ms. Fawcett made a speech where she said courage calls to courage everywhere in response to Emily Davison throwing herself under King George V's horse at Epsom. Ms. Davison's act was in a bid to draw attention to the increase of awareness for women's rights in the UK. The line is on the banner which Ms. Fawcett is holding on the statue in Parliament Square. In 1918, the Representation of the People Act was passed, which allowed some women to vote in the UK. To be allowed to vote you had to be over 30 years old and hold £5 of property, or have a husband who did. In 1928, voting rights were extended to all women over 21. This was in line with men, and 81-year-old Ms. Fawcett watched on in the public gallery in the House of Commons as the bill was passed. Sadly, she died 1 year later in 1929. There is still a society named in her name today, the Fawcett Society, which continues to fight for gender equality.